missed that. It's Lamo on 6Music till 7 tonight. We've got another couple of guests in the studio, and this, hopefully, I suppose what we're trying to do is explain why Independent Venue Week started and why it's relevant now, and point you in the direction of towns which have got some great venues and helpful councils, and maybe lobby some of the less helpful ones, including maybe one just down the road. I'm not leading you. We're joined by Adam Smith from Harlow Square, from Southend, Chinnerys, Glyn Morgan. Welcome to the programme. The point with these venues, which I think it is something we know, as I say, but some local councillors don't appreciate, is how crucial they are. It's not just about supporting new bands. It's about providing a place for an alternative community. It's basically, these places are hearts of the community. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. Yeah. There's when a venue goes, there's a reason for people to come to the town. Yeah, there are people all over the world, really. I wouldn't say the country, but even worldwide, who know of Harlow because of the square. Just because of the square. That is their connection with it. There's nothing else there that they know. And when you take that away, there's going to be nothing there. And you're right, there's new bands that are spawned from it, but there's also a whole host of touring bands who will now not have a reason to come to that town. Yeah. Most recently we had bands like Dodgy. Yeah. Where is there for a band like that to come and play in Harlow? There's a theatre and there's pubs and there's nothing in between, and they don't fit into any of those categories. Yeah. So yeah, if when the venue's gone, you're losing not only the place that spawns these bands, but also a place for them to come back. Oh yeah, and I get the impression as well, it's very hard then to rebuild, I think, because and agents just start routing tours around different places. I mean, I think we're quite badly served in general in Essex, although we do have Chinnerys, which is a good sized venue for bands who are just about before they're about to break.
Yeah, that's very, very true. You end up with what you're saying about the routing is absolutely correct. You end up with a situation where you have a good working relationship with agents. They start thinking about venues they trust, and they know damn well when the artists are being sent there that it'll be fine, they get looked after, it works really well. It's absolutely key. What Adam said there was absolutely right. If you take that away, that whole sort of culture shifts. You just haven't got that situation whereby bands will come in, they'll grow up with it, they sort of learn their craft, they go out there, they aspire to be something bigger because they watch the main artists in, I forget what's the old theatre called, the Harlow Square? Townhouse, yeah, sorry.
The Playhouse is the theatre, yeah.
Playhouse, yeah. And we've got the Cliss Pavilion. Yeah. So you end up with, they can see these artists, they can go to London because we're both close to it. Yeah, and they aspire to be that, and that's where they learn.
I wonder how many bands in Southend were inspired by seeing the Arctic Monkeys at Chinnerys.
Yes, quite a lot, without doubt. Yeah, it was that. And before that, we did the Baby Shambles shows, Libertines. You're absolutely right.
Because there's a lot of that sort of, music which has a certain sort of edge. It's loud, it's rough, it's raw, it's guitar. I bet some of it came from that.
It is. There's no replacing that kind of environment. You can't get that from listening to it on radio, watching it on TV. You have to feel it. It's a three-dimensional, hot, sweaty, loud, exciting experience. Yeah. Take that away and it's just unreplaceable.
Harlow Square has played, obviously, Arctic Monkeys, some bands have played at Chinnerys. Harlow Square has had a few gigs that have passed into folklore. Coldplay. Yeah. Coldplay first on supporting King Adora. But there's been a lot of great nights, haven't there?
Yeah, I mean, the venue was in existence long before I ever got there, and there's footage of Blur playing there, pre-Blur, when they were Seymour, that ended up in their documentary. And you're right, Coldplay is obviously a big one. Muse, Snow Patrol, Athlete. These are bands now that are big venue, if not arena fillers. Yeah. That all had to start somewhere. Yeah. And you should be proud that those bands played in your town. As someone, if you're in a position of authority, that should be something you should take pride in, and not just let disappear. Yeah.
I mean, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, if I was in charge, you would put those things in brochures advertising where you're from, and I'm sure some cities do.
Yeah, I mean, even in Harlow, they're happy to do that. If you're talking about the town and you're trying to sell your town, it's something they would talk up. We're in some of the brochures, but when it comes to the crunch, if you're the venue's been through a bit of a closure period, managed to get a revival. People have been campaigning. The council have said they'll do everything they can do to support, but it's closing. The MP and the council have both said they will do what they can to support the venue. Yeah, it's still closing and there's no replacement. I mean, it's embarrassing, if not anything.
That's heartbroken for people who use it, and for a lot of people who've got memories of they've grown up in that place. I think, and the other thing, the one because I remember seeing Billy Bragg at the Square, first time I ever saw a pop star, the first time I was ever in a room with a pop star, Billy Bragg. But you know, it was just an amazing day, and it's one of those things. I tell you what, the great thing is, it's one of those gigs you say, I was there. Yeah, that's what it's about in some cases, isn't it? Yep. And the thrill when people say, what's the thrill of going to see a new band, you know, on the way up? Where it's purely snobbish. This, you can turn around in 2 years' time and say, I was there, and it was great.
Yep. We did a BBC one at Chinnerys, and it was like I think they called it Essex Drugs Rock and Roll or something along those lines. And that had Billy Bragg on it, and it had all the people like Wilco Johnson and all the sort of main people, Blockheads. Phenomenal night, absolutely great. Yeah. And you're dead right. People talk about it for years and years and years. Yeah,
I think as well. You know, these two, particularly your two venues, are held very strongly in the heart of local people, because when you reopened after shutting and said we've been given a reprieve for a few months, it was like what's that Nick Knowles program?
DIY SOS. It was DIY Save Our Square. That's what it became known as, and it was brilliant. And honestly, those few weeks, even with what's happened, those few weeks were so worth it, and everyone kind of knew that what they were getting involved with wasn't a permanent solution. Yeah. But it brought so many people together, and it was great. We had such a great laugh. You know, we had to rebuild a stage because when we closed down, we took the old one apart, cut it up, and flogged bits of it as memorabilia. So when we came to reopening, the first thing was like, we need a stage. So it's in a different place now. Actually, I might throw you on Saturday, but but there were people. There was a local guy, Paul Blake, who was a carpenter, who said, you know what, I'll come in and build you one. He said, you pay for the materials and I'll put the time in. And loads of people, electricians, plumbers, all sorts came in and got the venue looking better than it's ever looked. Yeah. They knew that as I say, it wasn't permanent, but it just shows the community and what people want, and that's what they wanted. They wanted the square open again. Yeah. So as soon as we kind of mooted the idea, you know, there's a potential we might be able to get open and have bands on and trade again, and there was no second thought. People were straight in there.
What about people who've come through Chinnerys, you know, local bands that have gone on, or, you know, people that you can turn around and go, actually, I saw them in the audience, then I saw them on the stage?
Yeah, there's a lot. In fact, you've got Asylums, I think, doing a set later on. Yeah. And they were both, there was a band called Smother, absolutely great band, and they just sort of went and did bits and pieces, and there's other members in other bands doing exactly the same thing, and they've now sort of like formed this current band. Yeah. And without that, again, they probably wouldn't have got to that point. On a national level, it was really interesting. We did Biffy Clyro, I think, 3 times. What I loved about those guys, everybody sees them as an overnight success, more or less. They turned up in an old van, had nothing, had no money. It was like next to sort of like peanuts, the tour. You know, there wasn't that many people there, probably sort of 50 people the first time round, and it just built and built and built. You know, but they worked really, really hard, and without these small venues, they would not be able to go around the country. No radio was giving them any kind of coverage at all. No. So what was happening with this is they were building up a grassroots level. You know, so eventually you end up with all these people that get to a point whereby even the radio stations sort of saying there's something there that we need to connect with. Yeah, and they just exploded. Yeah. But they were great. You know, from day one, they were great.
What sort of things are you into at the moment? Anything you got? What gigs have you got coming up, or people you're excited by?
Black Honey.
Black Honey, right? Yeah,
they're really good. Sherlock's. Yeah, that's really good. Both of those we've got booked in. We haven't got Amazons, which I'd like to chase. Right. Because I think they're going to have it this year. Yeah. Yeah, there are a few others as well, of course. Yeah. It's a case of like trying to spot what's coming up, trying to sort of like get on the case and try and book it in. Yeah. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't.
That's very true. Well, that's the promoter's gamble.
It is,
isn't it?
Absolutely.
Really is. And although it's going to be a very sad occasion, there's an indie venue week gig at the Square tonight. Yeah. And then the big one on Saturday. You're not going out without a bang, are you?
No,
Saturday.
We've got 3 nights left actually, but yeah, Saturday's going to be the final one.
So what are the 3 nights?
So tonight we've actually got heat from the Essex Undiscovered contest, which is all across Essex, different venues. Right. And I think you've got them Friday night. Is that right?
Yes, we have. Yeah.
So I don't know the name of the bands for those ones. Unfortunately, I didn't book it in.
But there's something going on.
All 3 nights are booked in by different people. Friday night we've got there's a new collective called the Hit Cave who are booking gigs in and around Harlow. They've been doing a monthly slot with us. They're running Friday night. And then Saturday, we've got Eddie and Hot Rods, Newtown Neurotics, and a new band from Brighton called The Orphans. and that's going to be our final night.
Fantastic. Well, I shall see you there.
Good.
We'll try and make the most of it to give the old girl a decent send-off, and this is one of the bands who will be playing on that final night, and it's very hard to introduce this knowing that the singer and leader of this band is standing next door, but just imagine the coolest man alive standing on the stage with his shades, guitar in hand, looks at the microphone and says, "This is The Mess." Steve Druitt from the Newtown Neurotics, now the Neurotics, of course, was standing next door because him and Adam are going off to a Neurotics rehearsal straight after this because they're playing the last ever gig at the Harlow Square on Saturday, the Newtown Neurotics, and that was The Mess.